this is Ethereal, and I actually did another reading, and I realized that it was for me and not the collective. And what I realized from that was that um, there's too much friction to try and do, like, in between of filming and posting it to actually, like, effectively get messages out. And so I realized that I need to make this a little simpler for myself, at least at the beginning, so that um, we know what we're doing. So first I'm going to put out the sun card. I'm going to put it up on my little holder thing because we're going to do a sun reading of what we need to know, what's in the energy. So it's going to illuminate what we need to see. Alright, so what do we need to see? The energy, what kind of energy is coming toward us right now? Got solar calm in reverse. Clarify. So, and then we've got what energy are we in? Definitely in retrograde. So we're in the Mercury retrograde right now, so it makes sense that that card came out. So we're reviewing. And then what energy do we need to embody for our highest good right now? Show me the cards I need to see. What energy do we need to embody right now? This is a timeless reading, so this is just whenever you're seeing it. But we are in retrograde right now, so 8th house mystery, and it came out kind of sideways, but I don't know that that's entirely relevant. My table's kind of a little bit crooked, so that's why it kept sliding down. So then we can look at what the cards actually say. So 8th house mystery, so we need to be looking underneath the surface. So we've got solar calm, that's number 16. You can reduce that, reduce that down to a 7. So when the sun is calm with few sunspots or solar flares, its steady energy is quiet and soothes any turbulence in our solar system. The volume is turned down on all the other aspects of your astrological chart. Telescopes see farther into space. People tend to search for the metaphysical. Plant growth slows down on Earth, but the arts and creative processes often blossom. Politics tends to be opinionated but quiet. Attitudes more entrenched. It's a hard time to start a revolution. I'm going to read the challenge since it was reversed. It is not the time to push ahead or spark change. If you try to motivate practical change in your life or try a totally new approach, you can feel like trying to light a match in the fog. Be patient and the fog will clear in time. And so this is the energy that's coming towards us. So it seems like it's not actually as calm as maybe it seems on the surface. Or solar calm is what we need. We need to slow down. We need to be in this retrograde review energy, but something's moving faster. And it seems like it's under the surface, especially with this 8th house being what we have to embody. Maybe something in the silence is actually very loud. And then we have 15 retrograde, so that's 6. And then that reduces down to a 3. Retrograde gets a bad rap, especially Mercury retrograde, which we're in right now at the time this is being posted. But the retrograde cycle is truly a helpful and necessary time. It's nothing to worry about, just something to work with. A planet is in retrograde when it appears to reverse the direction of its journey across the sky from our perspective here on Earth. As that planet revisits its path, you get to review your life. Stop the normal patterns of your life and take a break. The roots of this issue are found in the past. Reconsider, revise, repair, and edit. Dig in a drawer to find an old idea to bring forth and rework it. Reconnect with old friends and previous contacts. Address some unfinished personal business. Look again and find lost items and missing information. A delay may be a saving grace in this situation, so check equipment, read the fine print, and make sure that everyone is on the same page and it is safe to move forward. This is an opportunity for a do-over. You don't need to get stuck in the past. If an old problem rears its head, rather than reinscribing dysfunctional patterns, take a different approach. Before you re-engage an old relationship, inventory your heart, consider what needs to be different this time to make it work. Broach new territory together. If you feel called, put regular work aside and attend to a side agenda. A sole important short-term project that urgently needs every bit of wisdom you've garnered. Challenge. It's not a time, tempting though it may be, to reminisce, pick at old scars, or revisit a painful situation from your past just because you want the emotional charge of anger or the excuse to wallow in memories of betrayals and regrets. You've been there, done that, got the t-shirt, and don't need to do it again. Gift. Take a breath. This is a moment of the ordinary flow, an opportunity to use what you've worked so hard to learn. Use your accumulated skills, knowledge, and maturity. Slow, steady, and thoughtful will win the race. And then 46, which is a 10, which is a 1. We can do 8th house, so 46. If your chart were a village map, the 8th house would be on the corner of the red light district, next to a mortuary and a savings and loan bank. It is a private house where we deal with things we don't talk about in public: sex, death, debts, loans, psychic phenomenon. Here we deal with each other's resources and how they are exchanged. Money, bodies, thoughts, and work, and how we inherit goods and attitudes. This house can feel uncomfortable, but it's a place where we can transform. Action. Assess the power dynamic between you and other people around important resources like sex, money, and inheritance. Notice if a relative or boss withholds money until you behave, or if you or a lover withholds sex until some other need is met. Just get clear in your own mind if anyone is pulling strings, and try to heal dysfunctional dynamics with clear and healthy boundaries. Seduce honestly. Not all strange sexual dynamics or unusual financial arrangements are a problem. If you understand your peculiarities and don't feel coerced or controlled by them, they are just part of who you are. Financial investors and advisors, consultants, ministers, lovers, intuitives, brain trusts, auctioneers, and investigators all work with 8th house affairs. And if they work with integrity, do so productively. Develop your 2nd house resources, your own money, sense of self-worth, and body confidence, to strengthen your freedom and bargaining power and operate in this realm with grace. Engage the resources handed to you, but make your own judgment calls. The 8th house calls for one last freedom, to acknowledge that death exists and be fully alive in response. Challenge. It can be tempting to manipulate by withholding love, power, or money, and hard to step away from someone when someone else is jerking those chains. Gift. Face your worst fears and step through. Feel that liberation. The trap of manipulation falls away when you don't bite the hook. Yeah, so there's something going on in the energy when it comes to the 8th house. I think that connects to the solar calm, and that's what we're reflecting on, is probably our relationships to ourselves, other people, and money. And there might even be a sexual component where you're trying to understand that, or it could be more financial. Let's get into the tarot. So I want to know more about each of these cards and the energy, especially that's coming toward us, so then we can properly use the energy that we're in and embody the energy we need going forward. So show me solar calm, clarify. Yeah. It's too many. Show me solar calm, clarify. Some sort of communication, some movement towards you. It is the energy that's coming toward us, so it's quickly moving, so that tells me it's in reverse because it's not as calm as it seems, or it's going to break some sort of calm. This is the two. This is discussing some sort of plan. Or quickly moving to make a plan. I mean, this came all out together. So we've got Queen of Wands, Moon, Five of Cups in reverse. So someone's healing in the background. Potentially this Queen of Wands, because there's a lot of fire energy. So this tells me that the Queen of Wands is directing some sort of energy exchange. Let me see. Give me this Queen of Wands. The Sun. The Sun, the Moon. Okay. The Sun, what's the Sun showing? Justice. So this could be you. Especially with the Moon and the retrograde energy. But I'm also reading this as a separate energy. As a communication. That there's some sort of communication about something being revealed that relates to justice. Show me this Justice card. Why is it here? Death in reverse. Yeah, so something stagnated. Something ended either prematurely or it didn't change. The situation didn't change like it was supposed to. And so there's some sort of communication coming in about a plan when it comes to justice and probably reversing or getting this out of reverse so that there is a change. Like someone's healing in the background. Show me this Moon. Show me the Moon. The Fool. Yeah, so someone didn't take some sort of chance in the past, but they're taking it now to come and speak about some sort of way forward after an injustice. Let's take a look at, mostly want to look at this Queen of Wands so we can get a better idea of what she is in this deck. So, Queen of Wands, you're confident, optimistic, and simply ooze good vibes. A natural social butterfly, your presence is a delight to be around. When this card appears in your reading, it signals that you are confident and comfortable in your own skin. Well, this is more about what it would mean if it were in our position, but it's not. It's about the energy coming toward us. But it reminds others that they're powerful. Queen of Wands might signify a ride or die friend who uplifts you and cares as much about your success as their own. If you are the Queen of Wands. Okay, yeah, so the Queen of Wands is looking like it's positive in this instance. This may be somebody who was a part of the injustice and they're trying to fix it, or it might be someone outside of the situation. I'm going to take the Eight of Wands to the Two of Wands to the Queen of Wands, and then the rest I'm going to put back into the deck, because that kind of tells me the story of what she's trying to accomplish here in this energy. So it might with the solar calm in the reverse position, it seems like she's going to come out of nowhere. He or she, they, them, it doesn't matter. It's energy, so it's feminine energy. This is somebody who calls things in. So that would be the next step, is the Three of Wands, which would be calling her ships in. And so she's got a plan for how she's going to bring everything forward to bring justice. But there might also be some conflictual energy going on underneath the surface. And that's why there's even an injustice to correct. And I'm just going to split the deck and shuffle it a couple of times more. And then we'll move on to retrograde. Show me this retrograde energy that we're in. Show me the cards I need to see. So this is Hermit. It came out to the side, almost reversed. So that tells me I want to pay attention to the challenge of retrograde, which is falling into almost like a depressive state. I'm not meaning that like medically. I'm meaning to where you get so stuck in the energy and so stuck in the thinking that you're not focused on what's outside of you and maybe even your physical body with this 8th house coming into play. So about the Hermit, so we're trying to find our North Star and follow it. And then we've got Death and Injustice in reverse. Yeah, so there's a sort of change that you're going through after an injustice, and someone's going to come in and talk about why the injustice happened and what their plan is for it moving forward. It could be an apology. It could also be someone outside of the situation who's going to come in and help you rectify it. But the Death in reverse earlier seemed explanatory, like explaining why something didn't change or why something ended prematurely. And in your energy, you're processing why it ended. And this is a lot of major arcana. It's been a lot of major arcana the whole time in general. So it's something major. It could even be in the justice system. So there's something that you're figuring out so that you can cut it out and you can move forward with a strategy with the King of Swords. And so then I'm just going to keep going and go into the 8th house. So show me the 8th house as the energy we need to embody. I think this is about what you can see on the screen, so I might have to move these up a little. I'm going to actually take the sun, put it here as a reminder that this is a sun reading, and then I'm going to put these guys up, since I'm mostly going to be referring to them from now on. And so we'll put the cards for... Oh, this is interesting. That is a matching pair, the King of Wands and the Queen of Wands. So you definitely could be collaborating with someone in the near future. Oh, and we've got another one. This definitely could be love. With the Queen of Swords and the King of Swords, but really the King of Wands and the Queen of Wands more says that, because this is both your energy. So you need to balance out the Queen of Swords to have proper judgment. Is there anything else? Why the 8th house? Oh, 7 of Swords and the Ace of Wands. Yeah, so there was some sort of betrayal, but I'm seeing the 7 of Swords more as your response, not necessarily as a betrayal, but strategy. Because really what he's doing in these cards is he's sneaking into the camp to take most of the swords away. So there's 2 swords that are still up and 5 swords that he's sneaking off with. So it's more of a strategy. And that's why it's also a betrayal, oftentimes, is because someone's doing it in the dark. So I want to see what the Seven of Swords is before I say more. Yeah, okay. About getting out of poverty and isolation. Okay. So what I'm seeing with the 8th house is that you're going to move forward and you're probably going to collaborate with this Queen of Wands because that's where all the fire energy is. So you're going to figure out your next move forward. It seems like there's a pause with that solar calm in reverse and retrograde where you're trying to understand what's going on with the Hermit and trying to understand this injustice and how to strategize. And then the energy that you need to embody is more action oriented with the King of Wands and the Ace of Swords. It's saying that there's some sort of new venture, some sort of new idea that you're going to act upon, and that you're going to use your masculine energy to direct that forward. And meanwhile, this Queen of Wands is going to bring the ships in. So the King of Wands, if you want to think about it in terms of like where the ships would go and how it works with feminine and masculine energy, is the Queen of Wands would be the one calling the ships in. The King of Wands would be the one sending them out. So this is taking actionable steps towards your goals, and then taking in other people's opinions with the Queen of Swords, other people's thoughts, but then using them to hone your own so that you can increase your judgment. And then as you're doing this, you will come to some sort of understanding of what that next move is forward. And as you can see, it's a hand reaching out, handing the wand. So this might even be when you have this conversation with the Queen of Wands, delegating to them as some sort of strategy to get out of this could be intellectual poverty. I almost said property, so that might be involved. But this is poverty in general. So the pentacles are your resources. This is like your emotional resources, your physical resources, your intellectual resources. This is in reverse. You're trying to get out of feeling isolated and like you have nothing to work with. And so the Seven of Swords is how you're going to heal. When it's really interesting because the Queen of Wands has the Moon and the Five of Cups in reverse, which is healing in a very similar way. It's just more particularly towards the emotional side of things. And so this may actually be some sort of reconciliation where you're realizing that you both have strategized, you both have used the energy of concealment almost to do that healing work. And so either you're going to do it together or you've already come to the table with your strategy for how you're going to do it, so then you can work together more in the future to right this wrong. So that is what I have for the Sun. I hope it's helpful. I will grab one more card from the Citadel deck as what do we need to know that we don't already know? Or actually, how do I want to phrase this? What do we need to see in the energy that we might not see already? Alrighty. What do we need to see in the energy that we don't see already? What do we need to see in the energy that we might not see already, actually, since it's a collective reading? The Spy Master, knowledge, distrust. Let me get one more on that. Why is the Spy Master spying? The Queen in reverse. Determination, sacrifice. Okay, let's see what this is that we're missing. This might be related to the injustice. So if we go to the Queen and then the Spy Master. So the Spy Master first. Nothing happens in the Citadel that escapes the Spy Master's notice. They must surely be one of the most powerful people in the court, and yet their office is a small affair, crowded with papers and bottles of stale drink. In knowing how fallible people truly are, how can it how can they trust anyone else? Knowledge is both a stepping stone to power and a poison to optimism, and in seeking it so voraciously, the spymaster has become trapped on a lonely path. Reversed, your high standards are only setting others up to disappoint you. Rather than expecting too much of people, try to recognize where you're being unrealistic and accept that nothing is perfect. Okay, so there might have been some sort of betrayal that you're healing from, and there might also be knowledge that you or another person knows that is negatively affecting them. I'm thinking it's potentially you. Um, but there might also be that distrust because my inclination when I got the spy master was who's spying and why. So I'm wondering if there's, especially with all of this eighth house energy, if there's stuff in the background that you know is in the background that you don't have full access to, and you're having trouble trusting people because of that. And we'll do the queen. The throne room is an austere affair, lined with tapestries and portraits of past rulers. At the far end, the throne commands attention. It represents power and the sacrifices made by those who have sat on it. Occupying it now is the queen, sitting tall and proud, ready for a day full of difficult decisions. But this is a position that they have worked hard to reach, and they will not shy away from the responsibilities that have come in the wake of their ambition. Reverse, the queen indicates situations where a sacrifice has been made, but nothing has been gained in return. No matter how much time, focus, or energy you have put into a task, nothing has turned out as you intended. You may need to reassess your approach or accept the fact that sometimes there is no equivalent exchange. Yeah, so this is about the betrayal. And it's probably also why this retrograde energy is very heavy. You might not know what to do yet, but you're still trying to strategize. And so it might be when this information comes in, it could also be difficult for you, but the overall energy seemed positive. So it might bring you less into the sword like thoughts energy and more into the action oriented wand energy, so you'll have something to act on. So this seems more current, where you're not sure who to trust. And this also might be a warning that, like, when this person comes in, you might not trust them, especially if they're involved in the situation. So, yeah, it all looks like a very positive reading. It looks like someone's going to come in who's going to give you some information about a betrayal in the past. And that in the meantime, it would be better to not necessarily distract yourself from it, but to focus on the problems that you can solve in the short term, because it seems like it's more of a long term thing that requires information gathering. And whether you're actively information gathering or not, the timeline moves on its own in terms of when people are willing to get involved and share with you what's going on. So it's heavy energy, but it's good energy. So I hope this is helpful. Have a great day. Bye.